Anna, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Give me a second.
Will use the skills, perspectives, and information they gain at school to enhance their own lives and to advance social, economic, and environmental sustainability.
Thank you. Agenda review. Is there any changes to the agenda?
I move we accept the agenda as printed.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Roll call. Jim in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Review and approval of meeting minutes from April 10 and April 24. Do I hear any changes? Did we get? He sends them.
And then I post
Maybe
them
you-
on the website. So there should be
Possibly
draft
get them.
minutes for April on the website. I don't know that I ever received May, did I?
No, it's not,
No.
we're not.
Okay.
But we're
So
not even
there's April.
approving May.
Yeah.
So,
So, would it be appropriate for me to move to table that? Because I haven't seen the minutes, so I'm not gonna vote.
right,
Okay,
Well, okay, let me think about this then actually, because I wasn't a member at those last meetings anyway, so it's not appropriate for me to vote.
Yeah, I think,
So
are we
if you
gonna,
guys
if we
wanna
vote,
just-
are we gonna have a? Two is a majority at this moment?
I think you guys can approve the minutes.
Okay, I do.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 10 and April 24.
second.
All
And
in
it should
favor?
just be abstain.
Yeah.
Yep.
All of,
I think that's fine.
Jim
Yeah, aye.
Abstain.
and I approve. Okay, public comment. You have anybody?
You don't.
No public comment. Okay, business manager report. That's Justine.
Oh, here it is.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now and see you.
Okay, great. All right, let me share my screen.
Here's the- So you have to do what you need to do.
All right,
You
so
know
we
what?
have,
It's like you've been on vacation.
yes. All right. So good evening, everybody. The reports we have this evening are for July 1st through May 31st, starting with the revenue report. These are the current revenues that the school has received as of May 31st. There was an RFR deadline for all expenses up until May 31st to be submitted by June 6th. And so we met that deadline and submitted all RFRs on that date. The next RFRs that are due for the month of June, so any expenses that happened in June for the federal and state funds, those RFRs are due on July 7th.
Justin, can I ask you, we have some new members. Can you define all the acronyms? So can you define RFR?
Yes, so RFR is a request for reimbursement. So what that means is we have to spend the money first and show them proof of that. And then the PED reimburses the school for those federal and state funds. And the way that we get those federal and state funds is applications are completed in the spring for the next fiscal year. So once the application is approved, then we can budget those funds for the next year to spend.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, I think the one RFR that I have not submitted yet to kind of close out the fiscal year is the lease reimbursement. We were waiting to pay the June lease, which I think we paid today. So once that check gets cashed, then I can submit that lease reimbursement.
Awesome.
Going on to the expenditure report, as of May 31st, looking at the operational fund, we're looking at the available column. We have about 114,000 available. to use between now and June, which we do not really want to use because we want to set some money aside for some cash carryover going into the next year. We do have still negative in the fund for the food services. I'm still just kind of waiting until the last minute to make sure we get all food service revenues that we expect before I move any expenses out. So I'm gonna probably wait until the last week in June to kind of see what revenues we've received and move probably some expenses from the food services to operational because it will not cover all of it. Going down with other funds, we have a few negative funds. Anything that is not covered. So like for example, Title I, we have negative $101. I will move $101 back to operational since that fund does not cover all of the salary and benefits paid out of here. And same for Title II. So it's not much negative.
Justine, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all that's gonna come out of that 114, right? All those little adjustments?
Yes. And maybe, and with that 114 is, I didn't run a report today, but we will be closing all purchase orders. So any open POs that we have not paid on will be closed. And so that 114 may go up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But other than that, I think all other funds are looking really good.
Can you go back up just for a second? I just saw in Career and Technical Pilot Program, $2,000. In the negative, we got that 11,000 redisbursement from CTE. Can we use it for that?
If we did a bar, and I'm wondering if I'm just gonna kind of look through these. Was that for next fiscal year or for this fiscal year?
This fiscal year, they had given us originally around 85,000, and then we applied for it. They had extra money to give back out, so we applied for it and we got 11,000. And we've been spending it on like dual credit textbooks and things like that. But I didn't realize that there was a negative fund balance for CTE. You and I can talk about it, but I just want to make a note about it.
Okay, I will make a note to look for that award. If that in fact is true, then I will do a bar. The ball bars are due on Friday. So I can do a bar and push it through. And then it could be, and I'll send it to Jackie and it could be presented at the July meeting just for the meeting minutes to have that doc ID in there.
Thank you, Justin.
That might be another three-letter acronym we need to mention, the budget.
Bar. So
Yep.
bar is a budget adjustment request. So anytime we want to adjust the budget, we'll need to request it from PED. And request it from you all. You guys are the first approvers. All right, going down to the PO encumbrance by fund. So these are the current open POs and it has it listed by fund. So all of the POs coming out from Fund 11,000, this is your operational fund. And this is kind of what's left on the purchase order. So there is a lot on there. And now again, that 114 could go up once those are closed out.
It will go up significantly, Justine. That's my hope.
Yeah, and then so next year, so say there was an invoice maybe from the UPS store that was for something purchased in June. We didn't get it until July and we pay on it in July. It will come out of that cash carryover, but not until the audit is completed that we're able to budget that increase if there's an increase in the carryover. So you'll have some of those, invoices that are lagging.
Thank you, Justin.
So again, this is really just an information only report, just showing what open POs we have, and PO means purchase order by fund. So if you have any questions on these, let me know.
this document? This is a.
It was
board member?
sent to the board and I apologize. So I have created you board emails, but I haven't shared it. I'm gonna do it after the meeting.
Okay.
And I can also forward you this so you can see it. I
Okay.
can do that.
Just so that I know
Yeah.
where to find it for next time.
It
so
will
that-
come to your board email
Okay, and I'll get that from you.
from the business manager. Justine is currently our business manager, but her contract ends June 30th.
Okay,
And Jackie Riley, who's here on
Right.
site, will take over as business manager on July 1. So she'll be sending.
she'll set me up with the email?
I have the email.
You said that was my question.
Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
hear.
Gotcha, no, that's fine.
All right, going on to the next report, this is your bank account register activity. So this is just for the month of May, showing your revenues and expenses during the month of May. So you can see all the revenues that have come in and then all the expenses going out. Direct deposit, that means that's the payroll going out. In your SCG, this is the state equalization guarantee. This is amount that comes on the 10th of every month or around the 10th. And this makes up your operational fund. So I see USDA came in for March. So it looks like we're waiting on April and May for the food services. So we had about 326,000 in revenues and 331,000 in expenses. Going on to the bank reconciliation as of May 31st, we had an ending balance in the bank of 815,000. There were still some outstanding checks of 16,000. So what that means is we've mailed out those checks and vendors have not cashed them yet in the amount of 16,000. So there's probably a multiple checks. So the true balance is 798,000, which balances to the balance sheet. And so what the balance sheet shows you is it reconciles to the bank reconciliation and it shows you total cash by fund. So really, anytime you see negative cash, it's probably an RFR. So we're waiting on a reimbursement from PED. Your fund 23,000, all of these are your student activity funds. And so those are, for fundraising, anything like that. So those are the cash balances for those activity funds. And then you can see at the end, the 798 reconciles to the bank.
I need a question, Justine, on the how do you reconcile the cash carryover with the bank balance? How does that work?
Well, it's cash and budget are two different things. So,
So
yeah, the cash that's in operational, you have about 550,000. There's still a lot that still has to come out of the actual bank. The way the cash carryover works is you take the total cash in operational. So we're really looking at the expenditure report. And we subtract any liability, so any payrolls or payroll liabilities that were paid. And then what's left of that is what your true cash carryover is.
So what's that 798?
This is all funds. This is all of these funds that are in your bank account. So this includes your operational along with student activities, any Idea B, Title I. So that 798 is all the funds that the school has. And so here's that 7.
Is capital outlay included in that?
Yes.
So that's why
That's a
it's
big
so
chunk.
high. Yeah, over 5.
Mhm.
I didn't.
All right.
Why do we have so much money? Was your
Why does
big
it look
question.
like we have?
Why does it look like we
We don't
don't have
have
enough? Don't.
Mhm. Are there any other questions on the reports?
Well, thank you.
I don't think so.
All right, I'll go on to the bars. So we have bar number 37. This is an increase bar for Title II in the amount of $8,075. And we're using this money to budget into coordinator position and their benefits. So what this extra money is, it's carryover from last fiscal year. And so we can only do these type of carryovers for these federal awards when we receive a memo from PED. And they're usually very slow because they give us this memo and they want us to spend it in a month. You know, it'd be kind of nice if they gave it to us in the middle of the year.
So we didn't receive that memo that
Until just
waiting
recently,
around to.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to request it.
Bar,
And you
no,
can't,
they just send it.
you just have to wait and hope the memo comes.
Yes.
But that's effective, yeah. I can say
Um,
these things exactly. And, you know, filter hasn't changed.
Any questions on this bar?
I can present them all first and then you guys can approve them all together if you'd like.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's see that.
see, there's questions on this one,
Oh, okay.
but I see none, so go ahead, Justine.
Okay, bar number 38, this is an increased bar for Title I in the amount of $28,956. And we're using this money to budget for a teacher, part of a teacher's position and their benefits. And again, this is the final award and carryover from last year. And then the last bar is bar number 39. This is a transfer bar for the operational fund, just to clean up negative line items. So what the transfer means, transfer and maintenance are kind of the same. With any bar, you can only move budget within the fund. I can't move budget from operational to Title I. So that's the first rule. Second, a transfer bar means is I'm moving from a different function within the same fund. So you can see here that I'm moving out 28,000 from function 2,500 and I'm putting that 28,000 in function 3,100. And then a maintenance bar is when you're moving budget between the same function.
So just to clarify, we don't yet know how much we're going to be reimbursed from PED, but we could have as we're over budget more than about 29,000. So so it's gonna be 29,000 minus whatever we recover, we're gonna have to transfer that.
And who
Yeah,
cover it if we will. With services, we run hugely over budget. There is just a chunk of money that comes out of operational to cover food costs, and that will always be the case. We are behind on getting our reimbursements from USDA, who reimburses us, and the state reimburses another portion. Those aren't all in, so eventually that money will come in and it'll get cleaned up next year.
But it won't come.
It won't cover it up.
And not to get off in the weeds, is this something we as a GC need to look at deeply, or is this like a fact of life?
I think it's a fact of life. I contacted schools to see if they could do our food service for us, which would be about half the cost, and it's gross, and they can't do it anyway. And so there's no one else who does feeding massive numbers of people than Montessori, and we're lucky to have them, and so we have to pay them what they charge us.
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
way in favor of
Yes.
Montessori. I'm just thinking, is there another package we could get?
Right.
Is there another way to deal with it?
The only other thing I could come up with was both Cobra and Silver, and both of them said we don't have the capacity to add 200 meals a day.
Or the state could reimburse us at a reasonable rate. There's always that.
Saw something saying the state will be reimbursing less next year, and our cost just went up for lunch for next year. Sorry, Justine, do you have other stuff?
No, that's it.
Are there questions for Justine?
So just one, because I'm new, so the Title II, adjustment came from a memo or was instigated by a memo from PED. Was it the same with the Title I? Is that the same?
Correct, same thing. So Title I, Title II, and Idea B, those memos usually come in May. And sometimes in June, and then we have to budget the money and they want us to spend it by June 30th. So it's not, we can't request the memo early. They're just very slow, and they're, as in PED, they're just slow at kind of calculating that carryover from the last year, so.
But both of them are, it's the same for both of us in the same situation.
Mhm.
Well, Justine, I'm gonna contact you about the CTE money, but so we can look at that, but I just wanna say thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure working with you this year.
Yes, you as well.
Thank you, Justine.
Yes, thanks a
Yes,
lot.
you're welcome.
A tricky era.
Yeah, that
We
was,
appreciate,
I appreciate all of your help. And thanks
Of
for helping
course.
Jackie. She said that she's been learning a lot lately.
Good, I'm glad. Well, I'm always here if you have questions, so feel free to reach out. It was nice working with you all as well.
Thanks, Justine.
Take care.
good night. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
So do we have to approve these then?
No, yeah, at the end.
We, at the
Oh,
end,
yeah,
they're on the agenda as action items.
Oh, at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there's no student present and no staff.
No,
Just to clarify, when we asked for public input, I remember one week where we didn't know that there was somebody who was present at the meeting, but they didn't show up somehow on the Zoom roster. Should we
and
sort
I
of skipped over that?
look at the participant list
Okay.
because that happened and you can see we are the only participants, but I
Okay.
suggest Will does the same.
I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you were here.
Yeah, okay. Just
Oh.
double check and sorry to interrupt.
No, that's Okay, strategic plan goal manager reports.
Let me go ahead and share.
And no staff report.
No staff. All right, so the strategic plan this month only has one goal manager, goal and objective. The goal is to improve teaching and learning systems and practices to support the growth of each student. The objective is to complete a written staff mentoring plan for teachers with requirements for mentors and mentees. And the task is to publish that plan in the faculty handbook. The mentor mentee section has been added to the staff handbook, but we have not finalized the staff handbook for next year. That will be Will and Ally finishing that up, but the language around mentoring and mentees is in there. So the idea is just that new teachers have a seasoned veteran teacher, generally a level 3 teacher, but I would caution people that that isn't as important as PED thinks it is. Level 2 teachers can be excellent. But that a level 2 or 3 teacher is mentoring and meeting with level 1 teachers, and facilitating growth. So Ally has been running that piece of the strategic plan, and she said everything's done except we haven't published the handbook yet, and that we finalized it and put it on in the drive, new final version, and shared it with staff saying here's an updated handbook. Any questions about the goal for them?
Staff handbook. Needs to be approved.
No, I don't think so. Have we ever approved the
I've
staff
never-
handbook by the GC?
The student handbooks we have,
Right, student handbooks
Yeah.
we have, but staff handbook?
I don't think,
I'd be happy, Will can easily, once we create a shared drive, put the updated staff handbook in there. You guys can look over it. You can add it to an agenda if you have problems with it, or if you want to talk about it, but I don't personally believe staff handbook has to be approved by GC.
and I don't
You
think
could
it's
also look
online.
into it and,
Yeah, and I don't think it's, I don't think you put it online, the staff.
No,
handbook
no,
either.
it would, it just goes in the shared staff drive and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just thinking broadly about it, is there any value in putting staff handbook online for accessibility? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot that's never touched that's
Right.
online.
It's true. I mean, I
Is it
wish
transparency
people
for
would
parents?
read it more. So how we make it more available or more accessible. I don't know the answer to that. There is a shared drive for staff with important documents. We have all of our policy manuals in there. Do people look at them?
Unless there's an emergency.
No. Onboarding new staff is definitely an area for growth, but we have new staff, none except for you, Will and Jackie. So, thinking
Yeah.
about it for the future, having an onboarding procedure that makes sure that they've read it and they sign something saying they've read it would be great. I've certainly had staff who are like, what? We have a staff handbook?
So it's not currently required to sign, right?
That process did not exist.
Well, it did,
Oh,
but
okay.
it never probably transferred to. And Jim, like, he was a mentor teacher, and I always had a mentor teacher for all the incoming teachers. And we documented, and they got paid a stipend, and so that was already in place. And then also the manual is there, but it's so old. I mean, it was something I think they stole from Silver Consolidated Schools when they were a
That's
district.
been all redone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know,
okay.
cause it was that old. And so it was like, almost obsolete, but
Okay, any other questions on the strategic plan report? Great, there is an
One
updated,
question, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
Would it be helpful to have a preview of like what's coming up next? Do you know what the next one is? Just so you.
So it's in your head. That's a great idea. I don't have it in front of me and I am about to publish the most recent version of the strategic plan online. So I will write a note to myself and just send you like, hey, here's what's coming up. I'll send it out to the GC.
There's also a document, I was just gonna say, there's probably the document somewhere that I don't yet have
Yeah.
access, right? But so just to know what that timeline is, so
Yeah.
then, cause I'm better at asking questions if I have a minute.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense.
So I also, in this drive, we need to put all the board documents that are necessary. I don't know if we need them online.
Tell Will, I'm gonna set up the drive for him. He's gonna put all this stuff in.
Oh, yeah.
Have you noticed I have changed him on the website? I have put his name on the door.
It's fine, I mean, it does, it needs to happen, it's like way too funky to streamline it all in a single drive. Very helpful for sure, and that's on my list. We'll keep checking on that.
Please let me know, cause this is what I do, like I get
Have fun with it.
into groups, well, I just am saying, like, I'm just doing this in another group right now, I'm like. Do we have a Google Calendar yet? A group, and we'll do it, you know what I mean, like, it's kind of just one of the things that I bring. Does it get?
What I'm referring to is book for, does that need to be?
So it is on, the governing council bylaws are published on the
Right,
website.
all the paper, attended paper. Like the strategic plan.
Strategic plan is also. So, I mean, to me, it's easier to go to the website, but if you want them in the drive, you can tell Will, he can put them in the drive.
Well, the things that I would put in the drive are like the governing council contact list,
Yeah,
and
sure.
that kind of.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So-
and meeting documents, like, we're gonna have a meeting on this day, here's your folder that has all the meeting documents for the governing council. So that when you come to the meeting, you've already had an opportunity to look over the reports that we're getting.
Yeah, they usually get sent out.
Yeah, but that's all I'm saying, is like, if, like, that would be my, that's how I would organize things,
Yeah.
and if that sounds good to the group, I'd be happy to help out. Like, that's how I'll do it for myself anyway, so if that's helpful.
So you're gonna give us access to the drive.
Yes,
Almost.
yes.
Okay.
And I'm gonna teach Will how to manage that.
In a Google Drive, if that was.
It'll be, yeah, I'll just create a folder in a shared drive that will be the GC folder. What Will puts in there will be up to him, and your requests can go to Will, like, hey, I'd like to see this. Just let him know.
Cause we could use Canvas too, or any, whatever. I
We
don't know if
could.
That's, no, okay, I was just saying. Any platform, no.
Huh?
Yeah, and yeah,
Sorry.
let's do the Google folder for now and. All right, sorry.
Okay, well, there's also paperwork, remind me, you guys have to sign. Okay, director's report.
Okay, thank you. I have a short report. It just says WNMU and internet. So I did, within our lease, internet is one of the services provided. And we didn't have internet for over a month. We still don't have stable internet. I lose internet constantly. Last GC meeting, I wasn't able to live stream our meeting because of it. And so I did request from Jack Crocker, so that he knocked some of the money off for our lease. He said he would take it to his leadership team. Will follow up with Jack on that. I also, asked him if maybe we could extend the lease one more year. I don't know that we would need that, given other meetings we've had, that I'll share that information with you. But anyway, so I have requested that. We do get reimbursement from the state. We pay essentially $15,000 a month. The state does, for us to be in this building, and that includes utilities and internet. And so without internet, it only seems fair to me that he knock off at least a few thousand for April and May. From April 13th through May 15th. We had no internet, I had no phone, I was running everything off my hotspot. We were busing kids to Silver to test. So seems like a reasonable concession.
Do we have any easy way to account for how much we spend making up for the lack of internet?
Question. Not an easy way, but I could probably, in ballparking it, I said at least a few thousand, maybe five.
Now, just so we'd understand this, is this gonna be, let's say Dr. Crocker gives us that refund, so to speak, is that going to go back to the state, or is
No,
that gonna come
we
to us? Okay,
Because we pay Western directly out of our operational fund, and we get an RFR, we get that reimbursement from the state. So if we paid 10,000 instead of 15, we would still get the RFR for 15.
okay.
That's a good question. Any other issues or questions with that? So over the last couple of days and also on Thursday, Will and I have been attending some meetings around facilities, around Jose Barrios, and what that's gonna look like. So on Monday, we met with our facility master planners who are writing our facility master plan, Paul and Chris Aguilar, along with Will Hawkins, the superintendent of Silver Schools, to talk about JB and where we are in process. Mr. Hawkins has, through running a bunch of community meetings in town, he's spoken with Rotary, he's spoken with the Grant County Community Foundation, he spoke with the Chamber of Commerce. He's getting questions from community members, and apparently one was, why would you give away something worth so much? Not the building, but the land. So the land that JB sits on is about 7.5 acres. And it is very hard to, for anyone in town to say how much that land would be worth. However, there are appraisers trained in situations just like that. And Mr. Hawkins has hired one to come and appraise that land. So is that awesome? No, but it doesn't mean that the deal is off or everything's ruined. Do I think he'll still give us the property for $1? I do not. But would there be a way to buy the land and not the building, but we get the building with it? The building really is a deficit more than the dirt itself at this point. We also learned some unfortunate things about the plumbing at JB. In the facility master plan for Silver Schools, PSFA, which is the Public School Facility Authority, estimated that it would be $161,000 to deal with plumbing issues there. It is significantly more. No one knows. But Mr. Hawkins described that if you flush a toilet in the 5th grade, you can feel it in the whole building. And any of us who live in the historic district are familiar with sewage issues in this area, pretty severe ones. So that was unfortunate to learn. But like anything, it is just one more challenge to overcome. So, yeah, go
I have a
ahead,
question.
questions.
Is there any possibility to rent the building?
It is possible that is one of the provisions that could happen. However, they could only get as much as we can rent anything for, which this year was 150,000. Next year will be 171. Their cost, they must maintain it at a level suitable for PSFA, which would be the massive investment in plumbing or anything else along with grounds, internet, utilities. They don't want it. They don't want it to us. It was my feeling. You're great. Other questions on facilities?
Just a small point of information. I've had a couple discussions with a town council member. Sees the closure of the schools as closing down community schools, and there's a big advocate for that, and I presented to him, you know, our reasons that we would turn it into a community school and what our purposes would be. So do you feel like that's any kind of a push against what we're, you know, Aldo Leopold ending up in JV, House and JV?
Is his feeling that Aldo is not a community school?
No, that it's more of a neighborhood school. And I said, you know, Aldo is not technically that, but it's going to be I probably should use that phrase, not that, meaning that, you know, the community surrounding the school would attend it, and that's,
I see.
it'd be that center or sort of the hub. And I said, you know, Aldo's not gonna have those strict geographical boundaries, but they're going to be a school really invested in the area. And I sort of talked about the gardens that we've worked on through YCC and the waterworks and so forth. So was that any kind of an issue for?
You know, I think that it is certainly something I've heard within the community is we don't want to get rid of these neighborhood schools. But the simple fact